everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM and some life content. In today's video, I'm deciding to talk about our move from New Jersey to Florida and just some tips and tricks that I would give you guys. I wanted to do more of an easier video that doesn't have to do with researching and stuff like that, because in case you didn't watch my video on Monday, I am sick. I know I don't sound sick and I don't look sick, but if y'all saw me without makeup, your girl looks like a hot mess. And my throat is not, it's not as bad as it was the other day, but it's still hurting. So I wanted to do more of an easier video. So in case you didn't know, my fiance and I moved from New Jersey to Florida a year ago. It's been couple of weeks over a year, but it was a year ago that we officially moved all of our stuff down here and moved into the house that we're currently renting. We're hoping to buy a house soon, but if you didn't know why we moved, it wasn't just a spontaneous out of nowhere type of a deal. His brother has lived here with his wife and kids for quite a number of years, and he's been trying to get us to come down here for a while. The both of them had this idea for a business, and it just kind of went from there. So we started not just one, but two businesses. We have our CBD store, and we also have our own CBD brand, and we also have an auto shop that is in town as well. So I work the store, and my fiance works the auto shop. So I just wanted to get that out there in case anyone was wondering if this is your first video of mine. So just wanted to get that out there. Little tidbit about my life. So today I wanted to talk about, because I've actually gotten, a number of you have contacted me via social media, like in my DMs and stuff, because you guys are also planning a really big move like this, and I figured I would just make a video about it. There's not gonna be too much in this video, I guess, on like factual things to do. It's just what we did from our experience, that sort of thing. So first and foremost, I would like to say that if you're planning a move and you're planning to move within the next couple months or whatever the case may be, even a year from now, there's a few things that I would really recommend you doing. First of all, save your money. Every last penny, save it. The reason why I say this is because, number one, it costs us thousands of dollars to move. Thousands of dollars to move. So I would say make sure to save every single penny. If you had the shoe buying addiction that I had when we were first moving, trust me, you're gonna regret it, because you're gonna think to yourself, holy crap, I could have saved so much money by just not buying shoes. So I do recommend that you save every single penny, because it is going to cost you a ton of money, especially if you're planning a move like we did. That is a really big move. So that's number one. Number two, if you're not going to open a business or something like that, you're just moving because you want to move, make sure that you have a job lined up. Make sure that you have interviews lined up. If you have to fly out for an interview, then that would essentially be up to you, but I would say it's worth it if you have like a bunch of interviews lined up. Because the reason why I say this is I was lucky when we first moved down here, because we didn't know how the store was going to do. We weren't sure if it was going to stay in business or if we were going to fail. It was a new business. We didn't know how it was going to go. And it is a risk to start your own business. So, of course, when we moved, I knew that I was going to have a full-time job until we got the business completely up and running. So, when I told my employer in New Jersey that we were moving, thankfully, they worked with me, and they actually said that they would hire me as a remote employee. And I had multiple interviews set up by the time that we got to Florida. So we arrived on a Friday. I had an interview set up for the following week. So while I was working from Florida, I also had interviews lined up. None of them were for me. None of them were for me. And some of them were kind of far because they were in where we live in the Panhandle. So some of them were a little too far because Pensacola is not that far. However, it was in a part of Pensacola that was a little too far for me to be driving every single day. But anyway, so none of those jobs were for me. I found one job that I tried out for a week. It wasn't for me because they just, it's a hot mess. I didn't last at that job, and I told them, I'm really sorry, but I can't. Then I got hired at another office, which was my dream job that turned my worst nightmare. I did a video on it in the beginning of restarting my YouTube channel, but the audio on that is garbage. So I'll leave a link to my blog post about it below because the blog post kind of goes over it a little bit more in detail. So the only reason why I'm telling you guys this is because this is going to happen. Unless you're lucky and you find the job that you want right away, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to go through multiple jobs. The reason why is because, one, it's a different area. So people are going to be completely different. The people in Florida are completely different from what they are in New Jersey. So that's one thing that you're going to have to learn, is that it's going to be completely different from where you're coming from. Going back to more of the beginning, so the moving process. What I ended up doing, because my fiance had to come to Florida first, they built the store, they opened the store, they were open for, I believe, 1 month before he came back to New Jersey to help me finish packing and move down. Well, I went to my local Lowe's, bought cardboard boxes, I assembled them myself, which is not hard, but I got those, I got a ton of bubble wrap. I love bubble wrap, y'all. But anyway, so I just, every single day, every single second that I had, I would be constantly, my mom even came over to help me, I would be constantly wrapping something or packing whatever I needed to. This is the best time to be able to get rid of anything that you don't need. So I got rid of bags and bags of stuff that I did not need. I sold as much as I could because some of the things that I had still had tags on them. So I sold whatever I could, and then whatever was left over, I ended up just donating. I just donated the rest of it because I was like, you know what? I do not have time to list any of these things on something like Poshmark or whatever. So I just donated the rest. So that is the best time to get rid of things that you're never going to use again. And I'm going to tell you right now, I had so much stuff that I didn't even know that I had. So that's always a good thing about moving, is that you can kind of purge what you don't wear anymore, what you don't need anymore. So that was that. We did live in an apartment before we moved to Florida. So we did have to completely clean the entire place. We completely repainted everything. We redid the hardwood floors because we have dogs. And we still got charged. We did. We still got charged for damages of whatever. This apartment complex is a story for a whole nother day, because we almost died in this apartment. So I'm going to talk about that story one day on here. It's a crazy story, but not what this video is about. So once we were all packed up, we had a container. We used 1-800-PACK-RAT. The reason why we used them is because they were the cheapest one that we could find, because the pods, way too expensive. From moving from New Jersey to Florida and U-Hauls, all that kind of stuff, it was way too expensive for us. So we decided to go with 1-800-PACK-RAT. No, this is not sponsored by them. I'm just talking about my experience. It was a really great experience with them. They came and picked everything up on time. They were really, really friendly, really great people. They really are. And we got, I forget what size container we got, but it was one of the smaller ones because we only had an apartment filled of our things. It wasn't anything crazy. It's not like we were moving all of our household items from one place to another place. So we use a smaller container. Now, the thing with these containers is that they are not going to deliver right away. They are going to take a few weeks to deliver. I think it took about 3 weeks or so, maybe a month, I can't remember for sure, for it to deliver to our place in Florida. So if you are driving to your destination and you have an interview the following week, I would highly recommend taking your valuables, taking whatever you think is, you're gonna need, or interview clothes, whatever the case may be. Take your necessities and put them in your car if you're gonna be driving down. That is what I would recommend. When we moved, I had all of my interview clothes. I had a pair of pajamas because we did have a washer and dryer at our new house. So I did have a pair of pajamas that I could just wash until then. I would say I probably had about 3 or 4 outfits that I was wearing the entire time. And I also bought some stuff as soon as we moved down because it just took really long. And we just had the necessities. That's all that it was. We just had the necessities. But we also have 2 dogs, so we had to drive down with 2 dogs. So we had to bring all of their bowls, their food, their treats, their toys, their whatever the case may be. And we also had to put them in the car. So we just did not have any extra room because we wanted the dogs to be comfortable as well. So that was how, we packed everything. Everything was good. And then we just put everyone in the car. The 1-800-PACK-RAT container was taken. We put everyone in the car and we just started driving. We didn't really map it out. I know some people like to map it out so that they can have a hotel room and have like a specific amount of time that it takes them to stop and everything like that. But we didn't do that. We ended up just driving as much as we could because we wanted to see how far we could drive before we had to stop, especially because we had to be back in Florida on Friday. So we drove all the way to, I believe it was Virginia. We stopped in Virginia because we left kind of late. So we stopped in Virginia. And then we woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And then we just drove the rest of the way until Florida. Now, because we are in the Panhandle, it's a little different. We're not in southern Florida. So for us, it was a little bit different. And, that was basically our story. I mean, we just packed all of our stuff and we came down here. There's really not... Every single situation is going to be different. So what worked for us might not work for you. And you also have to remember, we were going from a really cold climate to a really warm climate as well. So I had to pack like in between clothes. But when we left Jersey, I was in, all of my winter clothes. So that's another thing that you have to take into account is you have to think about the weather. What's the weather supposed to be like until our container arrives, or at least for the first few days, because you're going to eventually go out and shop. If you need to, you will go to a store and buy whatever clothing you need or whatever the case may be. So I would say plan for the first couple of days of you being in your new home or new state, whatever it is. Plan for those first couple of days, and then just to be on the safe side. I think the best advice that I would give from my personal experience is just to save up a lot of money, because it does take thousands of dollars to move. And on top of that too, there was a point in time where I didn't have a job and I had to rely on my savings. Now, if I did not have that savings, I would have been in a really bad situation. I mean, we would have made it work, of course, but that's a situation that you don't want to be in because it's scary, it's stressful, and let's say that you and your significant other or whoever you're moving with, or even if you're moving by yourself, think about it. What would happen right now if you lost your job, or if you couldn't find a job, and let's say you didn't have a job for the next 4 weeks? Could you survive? And that's why I would say to most people, save up as much money as you possibly can, because that's going to be really important, and it's going to be really important in the long run. And if you don't use the money, let's say that you find a job as soon as you move down and you don't need to have that cushion. You have all this extra money in your savings that you can either continue to build on, or let's say you want to furnish your entire home because let's say you got rid of most of your furniture, you have the money to do so. And you don't have to finance your furniture. So that's our story. Those are my tips and tricks. It wasn't really tips and tricks. It's more of just like a story time I'm talking about from experience. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to hit like, subscribe, support me on Patreon, check out my merch, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.